Now, I was reading a bit about Camille Paglia the other day, and I've noticed some similarities between, she's a famous gadfly, I would say, of feminists, of classic modern feminists, although she would regard herself as a feminist. She's unbelievably smart. Like, if you want to watch someone who's verbally, who has verbal mastery beyond belief, it's, you can watch Camille Paglia. She seems a little manic to me. She can wrap off an argument at a rate that's just mind-boggling, and it's very coherent, and you know, she tends to shred her opponents in arguments. She's so brilliant. She said something interesting, and she's been influenced by some of the same people that I've been influenced by. She liked this book by Erich Neumann called The Origins and History of Consciousness, which I would recommend if you're interested in Jungian theory, Carl Jung. It's a good introduction to Jungian theory, and it's about the development of consciousness. And it's predicated, like Jung's work and Joseph Campbell's work and Mircea Eliade's work, all of which has been criticized or ignored by the postmodernists, predicated on the idea that human beings have a central narrative, and that central narrative is the dramatic expression of the necessary human system of values, and that's built into us. It's part of our nature. We have a nature as human beings. We're not infinitely malleable by culture, which is a postmodernist claim, and a dangerous one. It's dangerous if we have a nature. Paglia has this idea that the reason that you come to university and you study the humanities, or the proper reason if you do that, is not to engage in premature and destructive criticism of something that you don't even yet understand, but to learn as much as you can about art and literature and poetry and drama and fiction and religious thinking. And this is all a kind of a, you can think about it as a, what is that? What is all that? It's art, you know, it's culture. Music belongs in that category. And like, what the hell, what about music? It's like everyone loves it, or almost everyone. It's a mystery. You listen to music and it's very meaningful. I mean, music gets people through some pretty dark times. Why? It's not obvious, that's for sure. You know, and in most cultures, music plays a very central role in identity formation, and you guys, I think you'll probably find as you age that your favorite music will be the music that you listen to between the ages of 16 and 20. It's kind of like it imprints on you, and it defines maybe that defines a generation. And maybe, you know, in our tribal past, and this is highly likely, when you were being inculcated into the tribal culture, that was inculcated with dance and with masks and with music all at the same time. So you're invited to participate in this drama and to take your place in this drama, and to think of that as a representation of the objective world is just not right. That isn't what it is. It's an invitation to a drama. Now then the question might be, well, is the drama real? And the answer to that is, it depends on what you mean by real. I think that great dramas are more real than real. They're hyper real. They're hyper real because they provide guidelines about how to act that are abstract and even perhaps generic, but applicable across an extraordinary broad range of situations. So imagine this, you know, you get up in the morning, you do a bunch of things, and someone asks you what you're doing, what you did, and you tell them, well, the first thing I did this morning was open my eyes, and the second thing was think about whether I wanted to go back to sleep, and then, you know, I took off my blankets, and then I put my feet on the floor, and then I stood up, and I was blinking while I was doing all this, and I was also breathing, and then, you know, I looked for my clothes. And you really want to listen to that guy? You don't want to listen to that guy. It's like, why are you telling me that? I want you to tell me something interesting. Well, what is it that's interesting? And why isn't that interesting? It's not obvious. So then imagine the guy actually tells you a pretty good story, a little adventure. Probably he was doing something normal, something unexpected happened. He had to conjure up some new responses, and he either settled the problem or didn't settle the problem. Yeah, you're interested in that, especially if he settled the problem, because if he can tell you how when he encountered some unexplored territory he was able to sew it back together, then maybe you can do that when that thing happens, and that's pretty cheap wisdom for you. He had to go through all the aggravation of figuring it out, and all you have to do is listen. You know, and that's kind of a classic story. Classic story, roughly speaking, is there's a guy, woman, doesn't matter, going about their life relatively normally. Something blindsides them, and they're in a state of chaos. Chaos is a place. Chaos is the place that you end up when what you're doing and the world stop matching. And the chaos can be of different degrees. You know, you could wake up and find that your house was burgled. You could wake up and find that your parent has Alzheimer's or some fatal disease, or that you do, or that your whole family was murdered, or that there's a war starting, or, you know, there's different degrees of chaos. And I think you can quantify the chaos by calculating how much of what you do and expect is likely to be disrupted by the event. Now, because the more disruption, the more destabilized you're going to be, which is why if someone tells you that you're going to perish painfully in 3 months, it's like, that's a bad one. You're really in an unexpected territory there. Nothing that you assumed that was real, roughly speaking, in the world is real anymore.